Unit 3, Pythagorean Theorem. Is it a right triangle? Alright, so the essential question for today is how can the Pythagorean Theorem help me determine characteristics about a triangle? So is it a right triangle? Is it not a right triangle? Characteristics like that. Lots, or language of the standards. Right triangle. A right triangle is a triangle that has exactly one right angle. So over here to the right, that's an example of a right triangle. If it has one right angle, it's considered to be a right triangle. Hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is the longest side of a triangle, and it's usually opposite of the right angle. And then legs are the two shorter sides that are right next to the right angle. The Pythagorean theorem states that in a right triangle, the square of the length of the hypotenuse, so the square of this, equals the sum of the squares of the lengths of the legs. So this square plus this square should be the same exact measurement as that square. So this is that same exact thing right there. 1 plus 2 has to equal 3. And then this is the formula for the Pythagorean theorem. A squared, and it's squared because whenever you find area, it's length times width. And with a square, the sides are the same length. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Alright, so think fast. The Pythagorean theorem works for all types of triangles, true or false. And you can pause this video to think about the answer. The answer to this question is false. It only works for right triangles. If the triangle does not have a right angle in it, then the Pythagorean theorem will not work for it. Alright, so the converse, or the opposite of the Pythagorean theorem, states that if a squared plus b squared actually does equal c squared, then you know the triangle is a right triangle. So if the formula works and you get a true statement as in like 2 equals 2. If you get a true statement like this, then you know you're dealing with a triangle that has one right angle. So example number 1. The question is, does this triangle have a right angle, or is it a right triangle? So always choose the longest side to be C, the hypotenuse. So this is C, and we can say that this is A and this is B. Alright, so they plug in the numbers. A squared plus B squared, they plugged in 10 and 24. And when you actually square it, you get 100 plus 576. The sum of those two numbers is 676. So we've worked out the left side of the equation and we got 676. Now we have to work out the right side of the equation. So c squared, we plug in 26 and we square it and we get 676. So the right side of the equation is 676. This is a true statement. So you know the triangle has a right angle. It's considered a right triangle. Alright, so everybody look at this statement and make sure you look at this, what it's saying. Do not go by what the picture looks like. This picture doesn't make it look like it's a right angle. They're going to try to trick you with that picture. Make sure you actually work out the formula to see if it's a right triangle, and don't go by what the picture looks like. Alright, example number 2. Does an 8, 15, 16 triangle have a right angle? So 8 is going to be A, 15 is going to be B, and 16 is going to be C. So we just plug this into the formula and then work out both sides. 8 squared plus 15 squared is 64 plus 225. So the left side, the sum is 289. The right side, we plug in 16, and we get 16 squared is 256. This is a false statement, so we know this is not a right triangle. So no. All right, one more example. Does this triangle have a right angle? All right, so we're going to say the longest side is C, and then just assign A and B. Remember, it doesn't matter which one's A and which one's B. It still will work out because of the commutative property. So the square root of 3 squared plus the square root of 5 squared equals the square root of 8 squared. All right, so we learned earlier in Unit 2 that the square root and something squared are inverses. Inverses always cancel each other out. So having those on the same number cancels each other out, and all you're left with is 3. Plus, this cancels out, so you're left with 5. Equals, this cancels out, so you're left with 8. So now we do 3 plus 5, 8 equals 8. So this is a right triangle. We got a true statement. You know that this angle right here is a 90-degree angle. All right, last problem. Longest side is C, and then just assign A and B. Doesn't matter which one. So let's get a different color. 9 squared plus 6 squared equals the square root of 117 squared. 9 squared, I know, is 81, plus 6 squared, 36. And these are inverses, remember, so they cancel each other out. All you're left with is 117. So we add 81 plus 36. That's going to be 117 equals 117. True statement. So yes, the answer is yes. This is a right triangle. All right, so how can you tell if a triangle is a right triangle? The answer to this question is if the Pythagorean theorem equation is worked out and you get a true statement, you know the triangle is a right triangle. If you work out the Pythagorean theorem equation and you get a false statement, you know the triangle does not have a right triangle.